Hi Amit. For the viewers, may we request you to please share your journey and your story in your own words?
Yep. So there are like three parts to my story. I always tell people that there is life before MBA, during your MBA, and after your MBA. So before my MBA, I got into stock markets very early in my childhood. So I started trading when I was 16. And around like when I was just about to graduate, I got a full-time offer from a trading firm. So I got into trading that way. So during my like professional trading journey, there were like my colleagues always talking about finance, using all the finance jargons, and that kind of made me realize that, oh, you are into finance, so you should get a degree in finance, probably to build a solid foundation. So that's when I decided to get my MBA in finance. So that's when I moved out. I came to the US in 2018, and I did my MBA at Rice, Houston. So I got into Rice mostly because, I was trading futures and stock options in oil and gas industry. And going to Houston made complete sense to me because Houston is the hub of, oil and gas industries. So yeah, so that's how I got into my MBA. I did my internship at Hewlett Packard. And again, I met like couple of wonderful folks at Rice who influenced my journey a lot. And right after my MBA, I was offered a full-time position at HP again. And I was with HP for close to 9 months. And then that's when I realized like my wife also moved to California. So I thought, okay, I need to move to California too. And right in between pandemic, I applied for a job at Google because like Google is in the heart of Silicon Valley and it made perfect sense to me career-wise. So around like a year ago, I joined Google and I've been with Google ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. It's quite an inspiring journey. So, in your opinion, what are a few factors or actions you took that made all the difference?
So when I like, if I have the advantage of hindsight now, but when I look back, there are few values that I completely strived for, that I made a part of my personality. And I think that helped me achieve what like, I don't say like I'm in a very extremely good position right now, but yeah, for what I'm today, I believe there are like three major things that helped me reach here. The number one thing was, I think, helping people. So this is a value that Rice also tries to ingrain in its students. So it's helping people without expecting anything in return. So I'm saying this because while in my MBA, I remember there was this class and one of my friends, he was struggling with an assignment. And I said, okay, let's, sit together and figure out a way to solve this. Obviously, there was nothing for me to gain from it. And I did help him out with the assignment. And around a year later, when I was searching for a job, I was being an international student, it has its own struggle. That's when that friend reached out to me and he said, hey, Amit, you know what, there is this job. I kind of know a guy who works in the hiring department. Maybe I should connect with you. You'll be a good match. And that's how I got the job. I mean, I did not help him expecting something in return, but yeah, that's part of networking. Now that I look back, it was networking. Yeah. So I realized, okay, helping other people, pays. I mean, never expect anything while you're helping them. And someday probably it pays out.
And it's really nice. So, with the benefit of hindsight, what are a few mistakes you believe you committed in the process?
Okay, so I don't think I've mentioned this, but I applied for colleges twice, 2 years in a row. So I have like 1 year of mistakes. And then the next year I worked with Experts Global. And that's when I got it right. What mistakes I did was like not having a structured approach to like filing the MBA essays or like even preparing for GMAT. So while preparing for GMAT, while working with like Experts Global, I kind of figured out, hey, I need to have this structured approach. I'll get into the details later, and then I had a very like structured approach to the essays that I was submitting. So in my first year of application, I was very generic about my stories. I did not personalize it. I used the same essay for different schools. I made a little bit change here and there. I made sure that it fits the answer somehow. So that was a very wrong approach. And then, yep, like I said, having a very structured and strategic approach to application is, yep, the approach that changed my essays completely. And that's how I got into MBA.
Okay, that's amazing. So going back to your GMAT prep phase, what were the main resources that you used, and what tips will you give to the future GMAT aspirants?
Yep. So coming back to the structured approach that I was talking about, I realized you need to give like 3 months to 3.5 months of dedicated, study time for GMAT. In the first month, it's all about building the basics, building a strong foundation on top of which you build the next set of GMAT strategic approach. So for the foundation, I would say like I went foundation, like building the foundation lasts about 4 to 6 weeks.
Mhm.
So for that, I used of the official GMAT book. It has everything organized. They have the table of contents. I went through each one of them in like closely, read the intricate details that are there in the book. And I also referred GMAT Club, which is an online forum. That was extremely helpful for me to build the basics. So the 4 to 6 weeks is all about building the basics. And after that, the next 4 to 6 weeks is when you put all the learnings to use. And that's where I think the mock test that we have with Experts Global helped me a lot. I mean, that was the game changer for me. So throughout my first 4 to 6 weeks, I was doing mock test. I was doing one per week. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was sufficient.
Right.
Not overdo it. I was like, I did not have any time limit around my GMAT exam. My only focus was completing the exam with as much accuracy as possible. Once I completed the foundation phase and when I started with like Experts Global's mock test, that's when I started timing myself. And then there is this analytics part, which I like got after like completing my exams. That helped me realize, okay, Amit, you're not strong at critical reasoning. You need to put more effort into critical reasoning. I mean, there are like different sections. I don't exactly remember the name. It's been 3 years, but there were a few sections in critical reasoning I was not good at. So I used the analytics from the exams to revisit those sections and make myself strong. And then the third part was like the 1 week before the exam.
Right.
So 1 week before the exam is all about, making your biological clock, like you have a sense of time inside your head. So you have to make sure that you are within the time frame. And I kind of stressed myself out to the max during the last 1 week just to make sure that I'm not stressed out during the exam. I just one day before the exam was like the relaxed day. That's when I like completely cut off myself from all the preparation stress and all that stuff. I just relaxed that day. I went to meet my friends and then, yep, right on the day of exam, I got the score that I was looking for.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what would you like to say about your experience and learnings from managing the application timelines?
So again, like I realized the mistakes that I did in first year of my application. I did not have an organized approach to anything. I was just like in my head, I was like, okay, I need to apply to college A, I need to apply to college B, and then they have 3 essays, they have 4 essays, blah, blah, blah. That's all, like everything was in my head. And I had all the application spread out over my table. It was like not the best approach. But the second time that I was applying, I made sure that I have an Excel sheet. Before even like the application process began around the month of like June or July, that's when I wrote down all the colleges that I would probably aim for moving forward. So they were like 10 or 11 colleges. So they were not like shortlisted, but they were in my, head. I thought like I'll probably target them. And I made separate columns for each in the Excel. And in those columns, I wrote down the questions that they ask for, like the essay questions that they ask, the optional essays that they have. And when I listed them out, and I obviously wrote the deadlines that they have, when I wrote down the questions, I realized that there are synergies between, different colleges. I mean, some colleges have kind of similar question. And that's when I thought, okay, it's manageable this time. And again, in that column itself, I wrote down the values and the culture that each college has. So I did a lot of research. I reached out to people on LinkedIn. I reached out to alumni, students of those colleges. I asked them how they cracked the interviews, how they cracked the application process. And I was taking notes in each column. Okay, so if I'm applying for college A, this is their culture. This is how the students work. This is what they care about the most. And I made sure that I highlight those things in my essays. So that helped me a lot.
Wow, this is nice. Okay, so would you like to describe your interview experience with the V School?
Yeah. So while I was interviewing with Rice, like I said, I researched about the values that they care about the most, and then I reached out to the alumni, the students who are working there, even like before the interview process, and then I got to know that they care about relationships a lot. I mean, it's a very small class size, and it is a very small class size for a reason, because they want to have that like very close relationship, very close bond. They want to nurture that bond between the students. And that kind of helped me, because when during my interview process, I kind of made sure that I be honest with them, but I also wanted to highlight this side of my personality where I actually help people out, or like I nurture the relationships that I form with people. I really care about the professional relationships that I build with them. And I make sure that even if I like leave a company, I continue to have that relationship with, my managers or my peers. And that obviously helped me stand out. Apart from that, there are these basic questions like, why MBA? Tell me about yourself, and why this college. That's very standard. I think one needs to have a very strategic approach to that. They need to personalize their answers such that it matches the personality of the college.
Yeah, I'm sure this suggestion will be very helpful to a lot of students.
There is one more thing that I feel is very important. The interview sessions like need to be very, conversational. It shouldn't be like a question and answer session wherein the interviewer asks a question and then you answer it and then you wait for them to ask the next question. I had a very different approach wherein it was very conversational. It was like to me sitting with my colleagues and having a discussion or like problem solving session. So it was like that. And I think that helped me a lot with all the interviews.
So, can you please share more details about your MBA experience?
So my MBA experience, I would say like it was a phenomenal experience. To be honest, I wasn't expecting that much for me. Coming back to school after a long break was like, okay, this will be very similar to undergrad. I'll just sail through it. And but to be honest, like coming to MBA changed my perspective. It changed me as a person. I think it matured me professionally like 10 years in a span of 2 years. It was that condense of a experience. So during my MBA, I think like we have classmates who are seasoned professionals. We had classmates who were Army, Navy veterans, and we had classmates who were like athletes. Having all these different personalities in the same class kind of changed my mentality. I worked with them on different projects. So when I was working with like military veterans, they have this like leadership approach to everything. They are like, okay, we have a problem, we do this, we do that. Hey, let's split it out in the team. Person A, you do X, person B, you do Y, person C, you do Z. And then we all like come together in the end and then we finish whatever project we had. And that's something I don't think like you can learn anywhere. I mean, that's something you get to learn in MBA. And then I had like athletic friend, like people who were part of Olympics sports group who represented their country in Olympics. And they gave me this vision, like how to stay focused on your work, how to have this focus mode wherein, you're completely focused on achieving the goal. And all these things kind of changed my personality in a better way. And eventually, like when I got back into professional field, I applied those same things and it helped me climb the ladder.
Really nice. So, can you tell us about your job search experience during the MBA? Like, what tips will you give to the future candidates regarding that?
So I'll have to give you better insights, I think I'll have to compare it with my job search in India and the job search in the US. So search in India was pretty straightforward. I mean, when I was applying for jobs, I would just look at the job description. I would see if I'm matching the skill, like if I have the skills that are required for the role, then I would just like straight away apply to that role. I would get a call from the HR, and then yeah, you know how the process goes from there. But job search in the US is very different. I can vouch for that because now I am on the other side of the table. So whenever like we are recruiting like folks in our team, whenever we put out a job posting, obviously like we get hundreds, thousands of applicants for that job. Obviously, like at least I'm assuming 10% of the candidates match the requirements of the role. I mean, they are all extremely smart, like they are highly accomplished individuals and all that stuff. But what matters the most in the end, to if we have to choose one candidate from five best candidates, it comes down to team fit. And team fit is something that matters the most. I mean, it's the person you will be working with for the next 1, 2, 3, or 5 years. You don't know. So every day you come to work, you have to look forward to meeting that person. It should be, fun in general working with that person. So I focused on the team fit part a lot when I was recruiting in the US. I would like reach out to folks on LinkedIn. So for example, if I'm applying for a strategic finance position that I'm in right now, when I was applying for that role, I made sure that I find folks who are in the same position in Google. I would talk to them. I would get to know what the team culture is, what are the skills that are required to get into that role. And I would focus all my energy on, learning those skills, building that personality required to be a part of the team.
All right. Okay, that's nice. There's a lot of research that goes into the job search.
Yes. Yes, and not just that. I mean, like when you reach out to people on LinkedIn, most of the time, like probably they are busy or they don't check out their LinkedIn often. And it's disappointment is part of the journey, but 1 in 100% like replies to your message, and you should extract as much information as possible from that one person.
Can you tell us more about your journey post MBA? Like, how has the entire pre application experience as well as your MBA journey contributed to your growth post MBA?
Mhm. Mhm. So post MBA, the roles are quite different from the ones that you have like before MBA, because after MBA, you are expected to drive business decisions. You are expected to manage multiple people. You are expected to manage multiple stakeholders involved. So like I mentioned, during my MBA, I got to learn all those people managing skills from my peers. And there are like many things. I mean, you are expected to drive change in your organization. So let's say there is a cultural shift that the leadership wants to bring within the organization. So you need to know how to bring that cultural shift. It's not very easy. It's not like science, it's an art. So that 2 years of MBA experience, it was that intense condensed form of knowledge transfer, which helped me build those skills, obviously. And during the application process, I think the one important skill that I learned was perseverance. I saw the fruit of that perseverance like 2 years into like application process. So these two things combined, I mean, deriving all the personalities from my classmates and then like perseverance, these two things combined, I think helped me shape my professional journey after MBA.
This is really nice.
Yeah.
So, according to you, like, what are a few common mistakes you would advise all the GMAT aspirants and MBA applicants to avoid?
So there are like many mistakes that I often see people do. One of the common mistakes I see people do is like whenever they are like practicing GMAT questions, either they spend too much time on their strengths or they spend too much time on their weakness. But when we look at GMAT as a whole, like as a exam, it's like adaptive in form. It keeps adapting to your answers. So I think like people should also focus on eliminating answers. So that's something that I learned during my preparation process. I was like, if you cannot answer a question, don't waste too much time on that. It's not necessary to find the right answer to that question. it's completely fine if you can eliminate all the wrong answers. So that's something that I see, a lot of folks do. They end up spending a lot of time on something which affects the final score. So yeah, this is like one of the biggest suggestions that I have. Like, don't focus too much on strengths or weakness. Have a balanced approach, and then don't be afraid of taking guesses. And this is something that they should practice while giving mock tests. I mean, initially I was kind of afraid of of having guesses in my answers. But as I kept on practicing, I saw that even if I guess answers, I was hitting like 740 plus. Yeah, so that's when I realized, okay, I need to also practice making guesses. So yeah, that's a mistake that people should avoid.
So, what would be your final message to all the viewers watching this video?
Okay, so my final message would be, it's completely okay if you don't make it the first time. I did not make it the first time. I was disheartened, but once I had this strategic approach, like which I discussed in the interview, I mean, that was my strategic approach. People should personalize strategic approach like to themselves. So once people have that strategic approach and have the perseverance, they'll definitely crack it. And the next thing is not to focus too much on the brand names. I mean, this is something that I've seen a lot. People focus on, hey, I want to get into college A or like college B. That's my dream college. I mean, I completely understand that. But again, they should like research more on what are the values or like what the college is expert in. I mean, there are few colleges which are like very good in finance. There are few colleges which are very good in like teaching consulting. So they should also focus on that aspect of things. And it's completely okay, like if it's not a brand college. I mean, if you go to whichever college and you work really hard and you build your connections, you will end up where you want to be.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, Amit, for sharing your entire journey with us and giving your valuable suggestions to all the future aspirants and MBA
Yeah,
applicants. Yeah, your
no
advices and
worries.
your tips, they're going to be super helpful to all of them. And we really,
Yeah,
really would like to congratulate you on your journey to success so far. It's been very inspiring to
okay.
know it all.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Yes, take care. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.